Hello everyone and welcome to my Stick and Rudder channel. Today we are going to look at the G1000, which is recently released by Laminar Research. At the time of this video, this is available as a beta release for 11.10, and if you're not afraid of few bugs, you can go ahead and try it for yourself. Before we get into the details, one thing I would like to mention is this is not meant to be a study level GPS, and Laminar never promised a study level GPS. To get the good feel for this GPS and test all its features, I decided best way is to do a short flight in a default 172. After my short flight, this is what I feel about this GPS. Let me talk about its appearance first, and it really looks nice. We have a PFD, MFD and audio panel in the center. Autopilot controls are located on MFD where I would expect them, and in between those two screens we have a red backup switch. This switch can be used in case one of your screen fails. All your information will be condensed on one screen. This switch is functional in X-Plane and works as expected. When you turn your avionics on for the first time, it does not imitate any startup sequence, self-test or any of the usual delays that you will expect with the GPS. I am fine with that, but some of the hardcore simmers will find it less immersive. For the next part, I am going to enter a flight plan into our GPS, which I quickly created on SkyVector, and I had no issues with entering my flight plan into this GPS. All the switches and knobs work as I would expect, and you can easily enter airways into your flight plans. As I was going through the menus, I did find one of the shortcomings, and that is you can only have north up as your map display. I'm certain in final release we will have option to have track up or heading up that I would expect from a normal G1000. For now we are ready to take off runway 12. We'll just depart off runway 12 and climb to 8,000 feet before we proceed on our airway. Well, this was not a very graceful takeoff. I was just over controlling, but we are in the air now and I can test some of the features that I would expect from a decent GPS. As I turned my autopilot on, aircraft held its pitch attitude, but for the roll it decided to hold a little bit of a bank. The aircraft should have gone into a wings level mode when you turn the autopilot on for the first time. This is a good time to test some of the other features of G1000. The first thing I will like to do is to find out where my VOR is. Thanks to the bearing pointers in this aircraft, I can point my bearing pointer number 1 to a VOR for my situational awareness. As I need to be above 8,000 feet before I can proceed on my airway, I will need to do a hold over a VOR. This gave me opportunity to do an OBS hold over my VOR. It is a little bit buggy in this build, but I'm sure it will get fixed. It will only let me turn up to a certain degrees in one way, and then I have to go the other way around. I was getting close to my VOR and I was ready to start my right hand turn. As I passed over my VOR, my OBS selector decided to reset to a new track. Again, I had a little bit of trouble setting my desired track, but that's something to be expected with beta releases. The other feature that would really help me at this point of time is a cross-track information. I really hope they add cross-track information into one of the fields up on MFD, so I can always monitor how far off track I am. This would be especially useful when you're doing a hold or if you're trying to do an intercept on an ILS. After intercepting the track inbound, I unselected the OBS and we proceeded on course. Autopilot did a decent job of flying inbound. It was a little bit more snappy in its response compared to a real 172. The next part was to do this really convoluted ILS approach where you come in really high, maintain a higher altitude, and then start to descend on a glide slope. Again, if I have a cross-track information, that will be very useful in these kind of approaches. But luckily, we do have two bearing pointers which will come in very handy for this approach. You can set up your barometric minimum in here, and as 172 do not have any radar altimeter, you do not have the option to set up a radar minimum. Now would be a good time to set up my bearing pointer number 1 to my initial approach fix, so I know when to start my base turn. As I started my descent down to 6800 feet, that is our safe altitude, I also noticed that predictive turn functionality is also not 100% accurate. Instead of using a predictive turn and lining me up with my final course, it wants to go directly to a fix and then start a turn, which will result in overshooting my final course. As I was established in a downwind, I was expecting to see a glide slope. The glide slope did not appear until I started my base turn and I was through 90 degrees, and it also captured while I was still 1 dot below my glide slope. I have to recapture my altitude and then re-engage approach mode. Once the localizer and glide slope was locked, Autopilot did a good job of descending all the way down. As you guys watch Autopilot do most of the hard work, here are my final thoughts on this GPS. I really like this GPS, especially when we consider this is their first attempt at G1000, although there are still few things which I would like to say in the final release. Number 1. Map orientation. As of now, we can only have north up in your map orientation. I'm hoping in the final release we will have option to have a heading up or a track up option. Cross track information. The cross track information will appear when you start to go away from your track, but you do not have option to manually set one of the MFD field to cross track information. The next thing that will need a little bit of a work is a course select or OBS functionality. It works for now, but it is a little bit buggy and I'm hoping it will be fixed in the final release. Last but not the least is Autopilot. It appears to me that Autopilot is a little too aggressive and needs some tweaking. So in the end, I'm really excited about this GPS. We know this GPS will be used in many of the add-on aircrafts, and this is a very good start. Thanks for watching the video, and hit the like button if you like it. If you dislike the video, please let me know how I can improve. If you have any questions about aviation or X-Plane, please write it in the comments box and I will see if I can help you. Thanks for your time and have a wonderful day.